Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Work Hard, Live Soft podcast. This podcast is all about building a successful business so you have the freedom to build a life that you love. Now, I'm really excited for today's episode because this was actually inspired by one of my team members, and she said, Maya, I need you to do an episode about how you go to the gym even though you don't love it. And I thought that was so funny. And my honest answer was, I'm vain. I like how my body looks. And if you listen to the previous episode, I talked about how aesthetic was a personal core value of mine. And so I like my home to look nice. I like my branding to look nice, but I also like my hair and my makeup and my body to look a certain way. And what is defined as beautiful looks different for everybody. But for me personally, I have a certain way that I want to look. And so part of my discipline with working out is tied to a desire of how I want to look. Now, I'm always really mindful about how I have these conversations about wanting to look a certain way with my body and exercising because I really want to be sensitive to eating disorders and people being just lacking a level of confidence or not loving their bodies as they should. I have been different sizes. I was diagnosed with PCOS years ago, and I found that I was gaining weight rapidly, and I didn't really understand why. I didn't have an understanding of hormone imbalance. I didn't really understand how I needed to eat for my body. But one thing that I have realized when it does come to my body is that I have to love my body at every weight in order to respect it enough to give it what it needs. One, to be healthy, and then second, to have to look a certain way. And it is also important to understand that looking a certain way with your body does not define your level of health. So even if I lose weight, it doesn't automatically make me healthy, but I have done a lot of research to understanding healthy ways to lose weight, making sure that I'm not just focusing on the scale, but also making sure I'm building muscle and eating foods that are nutritious to my body. Now, I wanted to give that caveat because, again, there's just a lot of nuance when it comes to body. So I wanted to just share that first. But today's episode is really all about doing the hard things because the soft life requires you to do hard things. The soft life does require hard work. And so I wanted to talk about some of my personal disciplines in my life, and I would love for you guys to share some of the personal disciplines in your life as well. Now, first, before I get started, I really want to shout out my dad because I really built this level of discipline through him instilling a lot of principles in me. And, when I was younger, in my teenage years, a lot of the things that my dad said would go in one ear and out the other, but they would come back to me in my 20s, and I'm just so grateful for a lot of the lessons that my dad instilled in me. So shout out to you, Dad. I really appreciate you. Shout out to you too, Mom. My mom really instilled a lot of morals in me, while my dad instilled a lot of discipline and work ethic. And so I think that is definitely why, building a successful business that's also in alignment with working of women of faith and being really proud of my relationship with God is absolutely a result of the values that my parents have instilled in me. So I just really appreciate it. And if you are a parent and you sometimes feel like you're saying things to your kids or it's not even worth, trying to instill things in your kids because they're not listening, trust me when I say it is so important for you to plant that seed, because now that seed has manifested into the fruit of a multi-million-dollar business, not only for myself, but for my sister. So my parents definitely did something right. As much as my sister and I have screwed up in our teenage years and in our early 20s, let me tell you, what you see of me right now is not the life I was living 15, 20 years ago. It took a lot of trial and error and the grace of God. All right. So with that being said, one of the best pieces of advice that my dad would give me, in high school, my dad would drive me to school and we would always listen to audiobooks, and he would always give me quotes and give me scripture and all of that. One of the things that definitely stuck with me was that it is very important to learn how to postpone instant gratification. And I always used to wonder, what does that mean? Why is he always telling me to do these things? And now in my 30s, I understand what he means by that, meaning that many times we're so quick to rush to the result or to something that we think we want, that we skip the process or we skip the discipline to really develop ourselves to somebody who can even maintain the result or the fruit that we are actually looking for. And so when I was writing the notes for this episode, I was thinking about the type of person who might be listening to this, who also has a little bit of a personality like me, who doesn't like to postpone joy. And so I was wondering, I'm like, well, what is the difference between not postponing joy, but making sure you're delaying or postponing instant gratification? And there are two questions that I came up with when it came to this. The first question is, what will serve me best in this season based on my end game? What will serve me best in this season based on my end game? This is a very important question to ask yourself. And if you find that you're a person that rushes through life, not just you're a spontaneous person because that's naturally your personality, but if you find that you rush through life and you skip a lot of steps, one thing I would really encourage you to do to get to know yourself better and to be more patient and to take your time is to sit and ask yourself questions. It's so important to understand the intentionality behind why you actually do the things that you do. So the first question is, what will serve me best in this season and what is my end game? Asking yourself that question also requires you to know what you actually want in this season, what you actually want your end game to be. Because if you don't have long-term thinking, if you don't have big picture vision, you're always going to do little picture stuff. You're always going to be doing short-term stuff. And a year will go by, 2 years will go by, 3 years will go by, and you won't have a enjoyable, fulfilling life because you're always only doing things that just fulfill the moment without investing time and discipline to serve a better future you. So it's so important for you to ask this question. The second question that you should ask yourself when you're trying to decide, okay, do I need to delay or postpone instant gratification, or should I operate with the mindset of I don't want to postpone joy? You should ask yourself, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of taking this action right now? What are the advantages and the disadvantages of taking this action right now? And so I'm laughing thinking about this because I always do like to give fitness and health examples as analogies because it's something that we all understand really easily. But let's say one of my friends is training right now for a bodybuilding competition, which requires such an insane amount of discipline. The type of foods that she has to eat, the amount of water she has to drink, how often she has to eat, just being mindful of all of those little things. And I can only imagine like wanting to go out with your friends, wanting to go get pizza, wanting to go get whatever. And in the moment, you can have the mindset of like, I'm enjoying life with my friends right now. Like, life is short. I am not here trying to postpone joy. I can just, eat better tomorrow, whatever it is. But when you think about what your end game is and why it really matters to you, that guides your decisions ultimately. So you really need to think about what it is that you want. So in the last episode, I talked about the 8 categories of goal setting, right? So your personal development, your finances, all of that. And so if you are finding that it's hard for you to make very clear decisions or it's hard for you to be disciplined, you need to first, again, understand your end game. What are your values? And then look at your actual goals. And so I want to share some of my disciplines based on how I want to live my life. The standard of life that I want to live has to be in alignment with my disciplines. Now, this doesn't mean that life cannot be fun, right? Every single one of us is driven by motivation. We are. Every single one of us is driven by desire. And so oftentimes, like, people will ask the question, like, how do you stay motivated to do something? And you'll hear every single life or business coach say, it's not about motivation. It's all about discipline. And yes, I can understand that as somebody who has discipline and work ethic. But at the end of the day, we are all motivated by something. We are all driven by something. We are all driven by desire. The reason you will or you will not do something is not just based on the amount of discipline. It is based on the amount of desire. So what you need to think about is when you are setting your disciplines, you say, I have this discipline because my ultimate desire is blank. Or I need to have the discipline of this because I have the desire of this. or my ultimate desire is this, so I will build the discipline of this. And so I want to share what some of my desires are in my life and the disciplines that I have along with it. Some of them I might lead with the discipline and then end with the desire. Some of them I might start with the desire and end with the discipline. But I want to share some of these so you know how to make very clear decisions on your life with your work ethic, making decisions based on postponing joy versus, chasing after joy. Okay. So there's a lot, again, different areas of our lives, 8 major categories. I'll just share some of the things that matter to me that are really important to me. First and foremost, I desire to have a healthy body. And in this case, for once, I'm not talking about the aesthetic of my body. I really desire good health. And mindset-wise and spiritual-wise, I'm always saying, I reject any illness in my body. I reject any abnormalities in my body. And it's one thing to declare these things out of your mouth, which it is very important to have declarations and affirmations, because what you say out of your mouth will come to fruition. But what you say out of your mouth and how you act will also come to fruition. And so the reason I declare these things out of my mouth is because what I declare out of my mouth will motivate my overall action, and then my action will determine the results in my life. And so if I say I value health, I can't say I value health, but my actions do not align with health. And so when I'm making decisions, I say, is this what health looks like? Is this what health would do? And so for me, that might be drinking more water. That might be reducing the amount of sugar I eat. That might be being mindful of the amount of dairy I eat. That might be being really intentional about increasing my protein intake. So when it comes to health for me, especially as somebody who wants to make sure their hormones are balanced, that their weight is balanced, that they have good skin, I pay attention to what is the discipline required to make sure I have balanced hormones. What is the discipline required to make sure I have healthy hair and skin? One thing that is really, really, really important to me when I get married is to make sure I am very fertile. And so I think about my overall reproductive health. I think about what would health do if she wants to be fertile. So you have to ask yourself these questions. So that's just an example right there. I desire to have a healthy body. So I have the discipline of exercising 3 times a week. So that's an example of a discipline phrase or a desire declaration. Let's brand that. We're going to call these desire declarations or discipline declarations. What do y'all think, team? Desire declaration or discipline declaration? So sexy. All right. So we're going to call these your desire declarations. I desire to have a healthy body. Therefore, I have the discipline to exercise 3 times a week. Another one of my desires is to have an expansive mindset, because I know how low life can be when you have a limited mindset, right? I know how you can not have the type of money you want, the relationships you want, the overall lifestyle that you want when you have a limited mindset. And when I really started expanding my mindset in 2018 by reading books, I took a manifestation course. I started doing all of these things. I started going to church more, reading my word more. I realized that I wanted to live a life with expansive thinking. And so because I desire to have an expansive mindset, I have the desire to have personal development habits in my life. Listening to podcasts, reading books, being around the right people, having the right habits, listening to audiobooks, anything that's going to stretch my mind and get me to an elevated version of myself, I like to incorporate those disciplines in my life. Another desire that is really important, especially for entrepreneurs, if you have this desire, a desire of mine is to have freedom in my business. I don't want to do everything in my business. I don't want to be my graphic designer and my copywriter and my customer support person and the coach. I want to coach people. I want to create amazing content that teaches people how to build a successful and profitable online business. And so therefore, I have to have the discipline to relinquish control. I have to have the discipline to actually hire people. I have to have the discipline to make sure my company is generating enough money to be able to hire people. And I have to have the discipline to work on my leadership skills so I can actually retain quality talent. So if you have the desire to actually have freedom in your business, but you still feel like you're the only person in the company who can do all of these things, you need to discipline yourself to learn how to relinquish control, discipline yourself to start documenting what you're doing in your business so you can start effectively delegating to people. There's so much that I could actually go into about this one, but I'm clearly going to have to save it for another episode, like the discipline of hiring, being patient when it's not the right person, firing people, being patient enough to not fire them instantly and actually train them and take a look at yourself and say, where did I go wrong when it came to hiring 3 people back to back that weren't a good fit? So there's a lot of discipline that comes with entrepreneurship, but that is just one example right there. I've noticed that more and more women are wanting to start their business, but the logistics of building a business is causing them to hesitate or procrastinate. Is that you? Be honest. You know you have a skill set or a message inside of you that can transform someone's life or business, but there's so much noise online that you don't know where to start. Okay, here's the advice I'd give to you and what we've done for our clients. First, you need to get really clear on what you want to be known for. What is your expertise? What are your top skill sets? You need to get clear on your message and how you want to package it. Next, you need to create an offer that can accomplish 2 things. It needs to make you money and it needs to make an impact. Then you need to create a marketing strategy that's going to get you in front of your dream clients. And lastly, you need to implement a system so your revenue can become predictable month after month. This is exactly how we help our clients and been able to get them results. Like one of our clients, Tiaya, who generated over $17,000 from taking her expertise as a writer and launching a program for inspiring authors. Or Jennifer, who took her skills as a school teacher and generated $30,000 in 30 days by helping other school teachers make money as a tutor. And those are just 2 of hundreds of examples of our clients who have been through our framework. You can start building your brand and getting your first set of clients within the next 90 days with the right support and the right focus. If you've been looking for coaching, community, and expert guidance so you can take your business to the next level, stop feeling so confused online, apply to work with us, go to buildtoimpact.com/ready. Let's hop on a call and take your business to the next level. I have a desire to have a healthy relationship with alcohol. Therefore, I don't drink when I'm stressed. I don't drink when I'm sad. I don't want alcohol to be a vice for me. You know, by the grace of God, alcoholism does not run in my family, but I am very intentional about if I am going to drink or if I am going to take any type of medicine, that I'm very intentional about not abusing it. So that is just a personal desire for me in my life. This one here is very, very personal. And for those of you who are really taboo about sex, this could feel a little bit uncomfortable for you. But I desire to have a healthy relationship with sex and to have very healthy sexual disciplines within my marriage. Therefore, I am very mindful of not participating in any activities that could trigger any lustful thoughts. So I don't watch porn. I don't masturbate. I really just try to stay away from those type of things. And it's not coming from a place of judgment for anybody who does those things, but I have seen how lust can, especially the spirit of lust, how it can really take over people's minds, and it can damage very quality relationships. It can damage good people. It can damage good relationships. And so for me, I know that when I'm in the act of sex, I want it to feel pure. I want it to be from a place of love instead of a place of lust. So that is a personal desire declaration. I desire to have a healthy relationship with sex. Therefore, I have the discipline to stay away from lustful activities and environments. And one of my final disciplines that I will share, I have a lot of disciplines, and obviously I would love for you guys to ask me about them. If you feel like you're struggling with some level of discipline that you feel like I can help out with, definitely ask me inside of the comments. But the last one I will share is I have a desire to build and maintain wealth. Therefore, I have the discipline to ask for the money that I desire and the discipline to actually manage my money and get support with that. So I've been learning about wealth for, I would say maybe the past 3 or 4 years, I really started to understand how my money can work for me. When I first started in business, I just had arbitrary goals of wanting to make 6 figures, wanting to hit that $100,000 a mark goal. And for those of you who have hit that goal, y'all know the way inflation is set up, like it just ain't enough. But once I hit that goal, once I did $250,000, once I did $1 million, I started to recognize like making money was not enough. I needed to figure out, what is my end game? How could I even possibly retire as an entrepreneur if that was something that I wanted to do? So I really started studying wealth. I started investing, in the stock market. I recently got into real estate within the last 18 months. And so building the discipline to actually research the things that you desire is so underrated, but the amount of value that it adds to your life is immeasurable. You need to take the time to research the things that you say you really want. You don't get to say that you want to start a business, but you don't take your butt on Google and actually search for how to start a business and then go deeper into the things that you might be unclear about. You don't get to say that you want to build wealth, but you have not asked a financial advisor, or you have not asked somebody that you might know who is wealthy, or you have not gone on Google and just studied the basics of how to build wealth in this country. I'm not saying Google is going to give you all of the answers, especially as an educator and as a business coach. Google's going to give you a lot of different things, but you have to be able to start somewhere and create some type of roadmap for yourself on how am I going to get the answers. It may start with a Google search, and then it may end with finding a mentor or paying a business coach or signing up for some type of online course. But if you truly desire something, then you need to have the discipline to invest the time and the money into making sure that that desire comes to fruition. So I wanted to just share some of my disciplines with you. What I want you to do is I need you to think about what you truly desire in this life. And if the things that you truly desire are not showing up in your life consistently, if you desire to have, healthier hair, healthier relationships, if you desire to be married, if you desire to have a nicer car, if you desire to have a better living situation, I want you to ask yourself, have I done the work necessary to attract these things in my life? And I know maybe a few of you might be thinking that's coming from a very privileged point of view, because I do also understand that being able to work hard and get what you want actually is a privilege, right? There's a lot of hard workers who, because of how the system is set up, they don't get to just live the life that they want. But I can bet that you are in a situation right now where if you actually just did the work of researching how to get what you want, that you would at least get one step closer. So I really want to encourage you to just think about, what control do I have over my desires? What research can I do? Can I be a little bit more disciplined in my life if I truly wanted to have these things? Now, as somebody who values personal responsibility, the answer is always going to be yes for me. I feel like between me and God, we can make anything happen. So if you believe between you and God that you can make anything happen, start asking yourself, what do I need to do to make this happen? If you enjoyed today's episode, I want you to share 3 of your desire declarations in the comments with me. I would love to know what they are. What is it that you truly desire? And if you know somebody in your life that should have more, that should have better, or maybe they need to be a little bit more disciplined and you want them to have some tough love around this, make sure you share this episode. So until next time, work hard, but more importantly, live soft.